Welcome back to the channel. This is Friendly Storm and you are watching What If Naruto Was Chosen by an Ancient Esper. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe to this channel. Not wasting no more time, let's start the story.
Hunger struck 4-year-old Naruto as he sat in an ally. He was unsure of what to do or how to survive after being expelled from the orphanage last week. He didn't know where he was or how to get to the old man with the funny hat, who he called Gigi, but he knew that he would assist him when he visited the orphanage. He believed he was going to die and slowly passed out from starvation. He heard a purring sound and woke up in a pitch-black tunnel, as they say. Curiousness killed the cat. He chose to follow the noise because he always thought he looked like a cat when he saw his whiskers on his face after what seemed like an eternity of walking. He came to a huge cage where a huge red cat with 9 tails was sleeping. As he approached the cat, he noticed that he could pass through its cage. He approached the cat directly. As he proceeded through the cage, he had previously observed that cats always liked to scratch behind their ears, so he approached the left ear, grabbed both hands, and began scratching. Something rubbed behind Kyuubi's ear while she was asleep, which was strange because she knew she was still in prison. She opened her eyes slightly to see what was there, and to her surprise, she saw a small boy with blonde hair and whiskers. The soft touch pleased her, but she was interested in who he was and why he was here. "Hello, child," she said. "Who might you be?" "Sorry, kitty, I hope I wasn't hurting you. My name is Naruto Uzumaki," Naruto said, leaping back a little. Being called a cat made Kyuubi perspire, but as soon as she heard his name, she realized that he was her jailer. She heard him call his name a few times and could hear some of what he was saying to himself, but she was unable to see his appearance for a moment. She stared at him, unsure of what to say or do. Since he entered the cage, she could attack him and consume his soul, but she would then be trapped in a coma. She was aware that she couldn't take control or flee due to the seal's strength, so that was out in the end. She chose a different course of action. She replied, "It's nice to meet you, Naruto. I am Kyuubi and I am a fox, not a cat." Naruto replied, "I never seen a fox before, Kyechen. I hope I did not make you mad." "Child, I am not mad at you. Tell me, what do you think about your life?" She was a little offended by the Chan part, but she chose to ignore it for the time being because he was still a young child. He stopped and said, "I don't want to talk about it. I feel bad when I do. People always pointing at me and whispering or looking at me with those eyes. It makes me want to run, but if I did that, where would I go? I also hate it when they hit me and call me demon and hellspawn." She laughed and replied, "What if I could take you to a place where you could get away from those looks and help you get strong enough to protect yourself from being hurt and teach you?" With a yearning gaze, Naruto remarked, "I would do anything to be able to have that. If you go back outside my cage and look at the paper that says seal on it, just take it off and I will do the rest," Kyuubi said with a smile, thinking, "Here's my chance to escape." "You promise, if I take that paper off, that you will take me to this place and teach me?" Naruto said, halting his leap and turning to face her. "Damn," Kyuubi sighed. "Yes, child, I promise, but you only have to take off the bottom half, not the whole thing," I said, unable to break my word. Naruto replied, "But you said the whole thing a minute ago, so what's with the change?" Kyuubi replied, "I made a mistake. Just take the bottom half off and I will do the rest." After returning to the cage, Naruto paused and said, "Hey Q-chan, why'd I know your name from somewhere?" After a few minutes, Kyuubi, who appeared terrified, said, "I will tell you someday, but not now, okay?" After examining the seal, Naruto swiftly removed the lower half, and for a brief instant, nothing happened. Then, feeling as though his body was on fire, he began to scream. Shortly afterward, he fainted. When Naruto awoke, he was in a place he had never been before, and something felt off. "Where am I?" he asked. Kyuubi replied, "You are in a different dimension, kid. This is my homeworld." After jumping and surveying his surroundings, Naruto exclaimed, "Kyuubi, where are you?" Kyuubi replied, "I am still in the same place you met me before, in your mind." Naruto replied, "What do you mean in my mind, and what's a dimension?" Kyuubi murmured, "Remember when you asked me where you heard my name before? The reason is your village thought I was attacking them and fought back. I killed many of them, and then your father, the 4th Hokage, me inside you. As for what a dimension is, it is a different world." After being astounded by what he had discovered, Naruto exclaimed, "If you were not attacking, what were you doing?" In response, Kyuubi stated, "I suppose I should begin at the beginning. I came from this world, though we now live in multiple worlds. It has been referred to by many names over the years, but the one I know the best is Mana. People frequently call my kind demons, angels, or spirits based on our appearance and abilities, but we are actually guardians of magic. Over the years, some people have discovered the truth and have called us Espers, Ians, Summons, and other names. Humans started hunting us for their own purposes many years ago, and some of us voluntarily gave our power to them. Others attempted to kill us in order to obtain it, and some even sealed us in shrines where we could give them samples of our power, but they were never the real thing. I went to try to bring them all back, but my actions were misinterpreted, so we ended up here. Do you understand, Kit? Many of our kind were lost, and some of them left this world to come to yours. With a nod, Naruto asked, "Why do you call me Kit?" Kyuubi replied, "It is because you are a child and my breed call children Kits." Naruto replied, "So how is this world you brought me to going to help me get stronger and look after myself?" Kyuubi responded, "Simple child, in this world time goes by slower than it does in your world. Since you are not from here, you will still age like you would in your world, so over the next several years I will guide you to some people I trust to help you get stronger and teach you to survive. If you are ready, I want you to walk toward the sun until you see a castle called Figaro. When you get there, ask to see either of the kings, Edgar or Sabin, and tell the guards an Esper sent you. I will sleep till we get there. Oh, before I forget, after you passed out I took control of your body and got you some new cloths and a couple of weapons that are beside you. Now put them on before you leave." Naruto walked over to a black bag he noticed while looking around. He rummaged through it and hurriedly changed into a black shirt and black pants with deep pockets on each leg. He discovered a box containing some shurikens and kunais. He placed some in each pocket and slung the bag over his shoulder, but he had no idea how to use them. After an hour or so of walking, a scorpion the size of him emerged from the ground and began attempting to harm him. Naruto pulled out a kunai and ducked under the scorpion's tail. He had to dodge quickly a few more times before he was sweating profusely and his breathing became labored. He was on the verge of fainting from exhaustion when a strange man wearing blue, sitting atop a huge yellow bird, and wearing a bandana around his neck, rode up after leaping off the bird and grabbing Naruto. The man leapt back on the bird and fled at last. Naruto fainted when the man said, "You're safe now, kid." Upon awakening, Naruto discovered himself on a plush bed in a brick-built room. He noticed a plate of food with bread and water on it. As he scanned the room after running to the food, Naruto began to eat as if he hadn't eaten in days. It is true in this instance. At that moment, the man in blue entered the room with a second man who had blonde hair and was wearing a muscle shirt. "I'm lost and was wondering if you could tell me how to get to Figaro Castle," Naruto said, pausing his meal to slowly back away from both of them. The blue-clad man asked, "Why are you looking for Figaro Castle, and what were you doing out in the middle of the desert before?" After the two men exchanged glances, Naruto replied, "I was told to head for Figaro Castle and asked to speak to either of the kings, Edgar or Sabin." "I am Sabin, young man. Could you tell me who sent you?" said the blonde man. With a smile, Naruto remarked, "An Esper sent me." "Perhaps you should start from the beginning," said Sabin after both men exuded astonishment. "I understand, so what does this Esper want you to do?" said Sabin after Naruto finished his story and both men were sitting quietly. In Naruto's subconscious, a voice said, "Tell them to teach you everything about magicite and anything they can think of to help you become strong, smart, and a great fighter." Naruto was instructed to rest after finishing, and he started training the following day. Cyan taught him swordsmanship over the course of the following 5 years. He learned how to steal and how to be a thief from Locke. He learned hand-to-hand combat from Sabin. He learned how to use tools as weapons and diplomacy from Edgar. He learned how to conceal his identity as a ninja from Shadow. He also showed him the correct way to wield shurikens and kunai. Being a half-Esper herself, Terra primarily taught him about magic. She was responsible for Kyuubi's partial release by transforming her power into a magicite inside Naruto. She was able to release Kyuubi into a halfling body as soon as the seal began to absorb the new power from it. Kyuubi began to resemble Terra, half-Esper and half-human. They discovered the locations of the 3 goddess statues, but it required a lot of Phoenix Dawn and Life 3 magic and some rituals, but it was worthwhile and the Phoenix magicite was useful. Kyuubi now appeared to be a typical human girl of Naruto's age. Barring her forced transformation, she turns into a single-tailed fox if that occurs. Naruto told everyone yesterday that he had been told he would have to leave. He was bidding farewell today as a sign of respect for the ninja of this world. He was dressed nearly exactly like Shadow. When Naruto got back home, he wanted to be this. Sabin replied, "Naruto, I hope you have a safe trip, and if you are ever back in our world, please come visit us." Aegean. Edgar replied, "Remember, Naruto, sometimes the best way to win a fight is not hit the person the hardest, but outsmart them. Of course, keep a handy chainsaw close by just in case." Shadow said, "The way of a ninja is a hard life. Keep you secrets from all those you don't fully trust and try to be quiet sometimes." Everyone chuckled. Cyan was saying, Never let the blood of an enemy remain on your weapons. Also keep your Honar always. Locke advised, don't forget, the biggest chain purse is not always the one the person shows you, and sometimes the biggest treasure is in plain view. As she handed Naruto the Magicite Ifrit, Shiva, Kirin, and Rama, Terra said, I could give you some advice, but the spirits of these have asked me to give them to you. They feel you should be the guardian of their spirits now. Naruto grabbed them and held the Magicite he had learned from his friends using the sealing technique. Kyuubi appeared in human form and said, I wish to thank you for what you have done for the kid here. I know you were not happy when you heard about what happened with me and the people of his village, but thank you for giving me a chance to tell you my story. Sadly, we must be going. The kid still has more training to go. Before they left the castle, everyone embraced them both. After leaving, Kyuubi began to handseal before uttering the words, Dimensional Portal the planet. Both Kyuubi and Naruto realized right away that something was amiss. As soon as they entered the portal, they were standing in a burning town. Individuals were yelling and fleeing for their lives, wearing a long black cloak and brandishing a long sword. A lone figure stood with a look of complete indifference, as if nothing were wrong. As it approached them slowly, the figure said, You are different, I can feel it. Who are you? Kyuubi replied, We are just travelers looking for a teacher for my friend here to learn to fight. Leave the same way you came or I shall kill you both now, the man said, glaring at them both critically. I would have already, but something tells me you are different and should be left alone for now. As she opens a portal to return to Naruto world, Kyuubi nodded and said, Come on kid, this is not where I wanted to go. Dimensional portal Gaiden. The man was surprised to see the tear in the air open after closely observing them both. Naruto was about to leave when he unintentionally touched the man's hand, grabbed his head, and began to scream in agony before fainting while holding the sword around Kyuubi's neck. The man yelled, Stop! Kyuubi ran to Naruto, grabbed him, and began to walk toward the portal with Naruto limp. At that moment, a man with glowing blue eyes and a purple uniform with a buster sword rushed up and asked, Why did you do this, Sephiroth? It is none of your concern, said the man with the sword, and he began to fight Kyuubi, and Naruto seized the chance to dash through the portal. After passing through the portal, they found themselves back in the Hokage's office in Konoha. When they both passed through something he had never seen before, the elderly man was in a defensive position. Who are you and how did you get here? He asked hastily. Kyuubi glanced at him and replied, I don't have time to explain. We don't mean any harm. Kid here has been poisoned accidentally and needs help. Just give me a few moments and I can heal him, and then we can explain everything. With a sigh, the third ordered an ABNU to exit the room. Kyuubi was healing him rapidly with what abilities she possessed. Naruto said, Haim, what happened? As she slowly opened her eyes after finishing. Kyuubi sighed and said, That man was polluted with the energy of the lifestream of that world. I was going to take you there to teach you how to use that energy, but perhaps it's best you don't. Seeing what happened to him, we are back in your world, kid. Remember what everyone taught you. After slowly rising from the floor, Naruto surveyed the room and grinned. Upon seeing a photograph of the Yondaime, he said, Hello. Gigi, it's been a long time, as he turned to face the third. Since no one had called him that in years, the third was perplexed. The only thing he knew about the person in front of him was that he had blue eyes. The third individual replied, Who are you and why do you speak to me as if you know me? Naruto replied, I will answer your questions, but what we say does not leave this room. Agreed. The third person asked, Why should I agree to that? Naruto replied, For the same reason you promised my father to look after me. The third was momentarily stunned. He was able to accuse the young boy without even altering his tone or displaying any indication of dishonesty, not because he understood what the boy was discussing. He then concluded, If what you say is true, then I will agree to your terms. However, if you do not give me proof of what you claim, then you can forget it. According to Naruto, fair enough. Why don't you start by telling me your names? Asked the third. Naruto chuckled and replied, I have 3 names. One I was given at birth, one I was given a few hours later, and one I was given when I left this world. Which would you like first? The third individual replied, Start from the beginning. I have a funny reason to believe this is going to be an interesting story. Naruto replied, The only reason I am telling you any of this is because I still remember you being kind to me as a child. Now let's see, I know you won't believe this, but I have proof, so don't try to kill me or order me arrested when I tell you it. I was born Naruto Kazama. You later named me Naruto Uzumaki. I was the child my father sealed Kyuubi into. That's a big claim. Do you have any proof? Asked the third. Kyuubi responded, I can give you proof, but only if you give your word. After I show you it, you wait to do anything until you heard my side of it. I want your word as a Hokage. According to the third, very well. After changing into her fox form, Kyuubi reverted to her human form and declared, I am the Kyuubi that was sealed into the kit here. Immediately assuming a defensive stance, the third said, Give me one reason why I should not try and kill you where you stand. Naruto stated, our village made a mistake when they first saw Kyuubi and attacked her when she was not even going to mess with us, she was looking for something else. The third, still in a defensive position, asked, what do you mean? Naruto explained, when our ninja saw a creature the size of Kyuubi in our area, they automatically thought she was some brainless beast that was coming to destroy them. She was actually looking for her people to bring them back to Their homeworld. The humans of her world went and abused Their powers and caused her people to scatter to other worlds. Times have changed now and her world is at peace with humans. Aegean, she came here looking for more survivors of the conflict. The third person replied, I see. I will give you some doubt for now because that is a believable story because our own village was built because of something similar. Very well, continue your story and I will listen and make my decision. Can I see what you look like? Naruto. Slowly, Naruto removed his hood and mask to reveal his face, which was marked with whiskers. Naruto replied, I know this is asking a lot, but can you not call me by my name? I still remember enough of what my life was like here before I left. If you have to call me anything, call me Sub-Zero. At that, Kyuubi began to laugh, and the third person asked, why would you go by that name? Kyuubi remarked, I brought Naruto to my homeworld after we left this one, and I had the people who helped transform the world there begin teaching him one day. Rewind. Terra said, all right, Naruto, I want you to demonstrate to us your mastery of Shiva's power. Who should I use it on? Asked Naruto as Saban put it, I will be your target. Ice 2 inches, said Naruto with his body covered in ice. Saban began to back away before scumbling, hey, get me out of here. The ice broke, but Naruto's hand was covered in ice, so he looked at it and tried to shake it off, but it would not come off Naruto's side as he saw that no one was coming to help and walked over to Saban, drawing back his fist and throwing up the ice. Everyone stared at Naruto before they started laughing. At that moment, a scorpion ran up toward him and attempted to attack him with his tail. Just like when he first arrived, Naruto charged forward and punched the scorpion with his ice fist, causing the ice to transfer to the scorpion and cover it in ice. I haven't seen anything like that in years since I was treasure hunting. Locke remarked the same thing was done by a character in a video game. I saw the character that did it was named Sub-Zero, but I can't recall what it was called. Saban replied, I think that's what we should call him now, Sub-Zero. Finish the flashback according to Kyuubi, and that's how he got the nickname. You know it's rude to listen to private conversations, Naruto remarked after glancing at the fourth's photo. As everyone stiffened, the third person remarked, I see you can detect chakra. After donning his mask and hood, Naruto remarked, no, I have heightened senses, and when I mentioned my father sealing her in me, it sounded like he was about to fall off the ledge from shock. Is he telling the truth, Sensei? A figure asked as it entered through the window. The third replied, yes. Now I have a question. How is Kyuubi free of the seal and how do Uoi know about your father? She is and then she is not, Naruto remarked. Kyuubi continued, when someone of my race dies they change into something. Through a process from one of my friends that has a special bond to my race, she was able to extract my spirit from the seal, and in the process I got a hybrid body with 1 tail's worth of power. The remains of what my species becomes when they die is still inside the seal and is being absorbed. As for how he knows about his father, the first month after the sealing I was able to hear everything the kid heard, and I heard you mention it as well as his father saying how sorry he was. I told him about it when we first met when he passed out from hunger living on the streets. So what do you plan on doing? Asked the third. Naruto stated, I want to be a ninja like my father. I have a promise to keep and I am going to do that. According to the third, what promise? Naruto was saying, I promised Ketchin that I would help her find her people and get them back to Their world. The third individual replied, I heard you say something about having skills in battle, but do you know how to use chakra? Kyuubi continued, he knows what chakra is and that he has a lot because of me being in his body, but he does not know how to use it besides adding it to his body to make it stronger, faster, and heighten his senses even more. With a sigh, the third asked, what are your plans regarding your father's estate? What do I have to do to get it? Asked Naruto. The third person replied, you have to wait till you become a chunin or 18 years old, whichever comes first. After entering the window, the man said, I have a suggestion. Since he does not know much and is currently behind others in his class, let me take him and teach him. Says Naruto. Exactly. Who are you? I am the man who is loved in the north, south, east, and west, and is the dream of every woman, the man declared as he began to dance. The toad hermit, Jiraiya. And what does that have to do with anything? Asked Naruto, who was drenched in sweat. I was your father's teacher. I am the only one who can teach you the things your father knew, said Jiraiya, who was in tears. After giving it some thought, the third person remarked, I want him back before his age group graduates from the academy. Don't I get a vote, said Naruto. The response from Kyuubi was, no, you are just along for the ride. While continuing to gaze at the image of the fourth, Naruto remarked, you do know that is a great place to hide something. What are you talking about? Asked the third. Naruto was saying, the picture of the blonde guy who looks like me. I figure that is dad. I was taught to be a master thief by one of my teachers, and his last words to me before we left made that stand out. You have a safe behind that picture. You are going to be a fascinating person, Naruto, the third said with a laugh. According to Jiraiya, so what do we do with her? I will come with him. I have a promise to help protect him as well as personal reason, Kyuubi said, glancing at Jiraiya. Before vanishing in a cloud of smoke, Jiraiya said, okay, let's meet at the south gate in an hour. After giving Kyuubi a quick glance, Naruto asked, what now? The third replied, you will be leaving the village Aegean. I declared you missing back when you were 4, and if you don't show your looks too much you probably can get away till you get able to claim your birth name. When you do you will have to let everyone know who you are. We will cross that bridge when we get there. Come on Ketchin, let's go, Naruto sighed, and the two of them left the Hokage's office. Jiraiya was waiting for Naruto when he and Kyuubi reached the gates. Come on, brat, let's go, he said. Go back 3 years. There were 2 figures approaching the village gates, one taller than the other, accompanied by a fox. According to the gate guard, halt and state your name and business for being here. Jiraiya replied, I am Jiraiya the Toad Sage, and this is my apprentice Sub-Zero. We are returning from a training trip for my student to take the Genin test. As they began to pass the gate, the guard yelled, proceed. He then drew back to kick the fox. Sub-Zero replied, I would not do that. If I was you, she might kill you if you provoke her. After sneering, the guard attempted to kick the fox and said, yeah right. At the last second, the fox leapt forward and jumped back, then grabbed the man's pants at the crotch and said, be nice or I will bite them off. The man was still holding on. The guard fainted, letting go. The fox approached Naruto and leapt onto his shoulders. Even though he was 5 feet 7 inches and weighed roughly 140 pounds of pure muscle, he still had the same appearance as when he first entered the Hokage's office 3 years prior. His baby fat had mostly disappeared, leaving only his blue eyes visible. The 2 figures vanished, one in a whirlpool of flames, and another in a whirlpool of leaves. We're back, Sensei, Jiraiya said as they appeared in front of the Hokage. The academy is on the south side of town. It's the only 3-story building in that area and has a sign on it saying Academy. If you hurry you should find room 212 and the teacher's name is Iruka, the third said with a smile before giving it to Naruto. With a nod, Naruto vanished in a whirlpool of fire. After glancing at the location, the third person said, well, tell me about him. Jiraiya replied, he's good. He can fight me to a standstill 1 out of every 3 times we fight. He don't know a lot of jutsu, but the ones he does he has mastered. Add that to his magic abilities and he could take you and me both on and might win. Tell me about his magic, said the third. Jiraiya replied, well, I learned a little from him and it is very powerful and unique. You know how chakra is made up of mental and physical energy, right? Well, magic uses mental energy and using it enough causes it to increase. It's like working all year on physical energy to increase chakra. With a nod, the third asked, do you think he would be willing to teach it to our ninja? Jiraiya replied, if it was just up to him, maybe I earned the right from one of the Espers. Stunned, the third questioned, what was that like? Jiraiya stated, Naruto has these things called magicite that are dead Espers, but they are still alive inside a crystal. Each I was allowed to learn from the Esper Ifrit, and I learned 3 magic spells: fire, fire 2, and drain, where I can drain a person of their mental energy, cutting their chakra down. It does not take much away, but it takes about half of what a normal genin has at graduation. If I still had the magicite I could also summon the actual Esper, but it's okay. The third individual replied, that is interesting. Okay, besides magic, what does he actually know and what ranks are his skills at? Jiraiya continued, whoever taught him before was good. He has great skills in diplomacy. Kenjutsu I would say mid chunin, taijutsu he is high chunin. Genjutsu, he can detect it and dispel it, but he can't use it. Ninjutsu is a bit tricky. Let me tell you what he knows. Tree climbing, water walking, water rolling, Kuniya balancing, Kage Bunshin, replacement, Henge, Rasengan, Kuniya Kage Bunshin, Kage Shuriken, Hari Jizo, spiked hair, if he will uncover his face and hair, Kaden, Gamayu Enden Toad Oil, Kachiyose no Jutsu, Kanbi Henge, Combo Henge, Shihapo Shuriken, Shuriken all directions, Sexy no Jutsu, Harem Jutsu, Doden, Yomi Numa, Earth Release, Swamp of the Underworld, Bunshin Deibakuha, Clone Great Explosion, and Hiraiishin no Jutsu, Flying Thunder God technique, he said. You taught him all of that, what the hell were you thinking? Said the third, who noticed. Jiraiya stated, the kid was like a sponge. Once he found out the secret training of Kage Bunshin, he was a machine. He learned Rasengan in a month, Kage Bunshin in a day, Kachiyose no Jutsu in 3 days. The only thing I found that could slow him down was the Hiraishin no Jutsu, Flying Thunder God technique. He has not mastered it, but I say if he had another year he could do it at short distance and a few times. His control is not good enough yet to master it. I am getting too old for this shit, the third sighed. Jiraiya replied, if for some reason he has to leave I will take him. Aegean, I can't let my fan and co-writer get in trouble. No you can't. What do you mean co-writer? The third person said. Jiraiya replied, that boy is going to make some girl really happy someday. His stealth skills surpass my own. He can have almost any woman that he wants, and his look he has no sure attracts them. That made them both laugh. Naruto, in the interim, he had just reached the door that the Hokage had instructed him to go to, and he knocked. When he approached the door, a man with a scar across his nose asked, can I help you? As he handed over the note, Naruto said, my name is Sub-Zero. The Hokage asked me to give this to you so I can take the exam. It was read by the scarred man, who said, my name is Iruka, please have a seat and we will call you shortly. Naruto felt like everyone in the classroom was staring at him. As soon as he entered he could sense some of the feelings evaporating others. Judging by their expressions, Naruto made his way to the back of the room and sat down at a desk that was empty. Said Iruka. Next Sasuke Uchiha. After leaving the room, Sasuke came back a short while later. Sub-Zero was then summoned back by Iruka to perform the Henjin replacement, which he successfully completed. Please do a Bunshin, Iruka said. According to Naruto, that might be a problem. When both teachers raised their heads, Iruka said, please explain. Naruto stated, Ero Sanin said I would never be able to perform a regular Bunshin because I have a condition that makes me have too much chakra. He taught me Kage Bunshin to get over that weakness. Would that work? Iruka replied, I don't see that being a problem, but I would have to talk to this Ero Sanin and ask him if what you say is true. After saying, be right back, and nodding, Naruto vanished into flames. Sub-Zero returned with Jiraiya of the Sanins after both instructors were stunned by another round of flames. This young man said something about not being able to make regular Bunshins. Would you explain that to me? Iruka asked after gathering his thoughts. Jiraiya replied, the kid here has more chakra than I do because of his condition, and because of that he would have to seal off more than 3/4 of his chakra to just hope to make a regular Bunshin. I decided that he would have to learn Kage Bunshin instead, which he can show you. Does that answer your questions? If you don't mind, what is his condition and how long have you taught him? Asked Mizuki after Iruka nodded. Jiraiya replied, it's something like a bloodline, except he is the first to have it and we don't know everything about it. He has been my student for 3 years, but he had other teachers before that. Now if you will excuse me, I have research to do. You know where to find me if you need me, kid. Naruto replied, I will help with the book when I see you later. Naruto made 5 Kage Bunshins after Jiraiya left in a swirl of leaves. Iruka gave him a headband, and they returned to class. Iruka replied when they returned, congrats to all of you who passed. Tomorrow you will come back for team placements. Since we still have time, why don't I let our guest stand and tell us about himself? I go by the name Sub-Zero. I specialize in unique skills that most can't do or hope to copy. I have several hobbies and dreams, but you will have to find out later on your own. Thank you, Naruto said, muttering quietly as he made his way to the front of the class, his fox still perched on his shoulder. Hey, my name is Kiba and this is Akamaru. What is up with the fox? A dog-wielding boy said as Naruto began to head for his seat. Naruto stated, if you have a question for her, ask it, and if she wants she will answer it. She is my lifelong traveling companion. Ino said, can I pet her? Because he found the fox adorable. Say, Naruto, ask her, Kiba replied. I bet you were just trying to look good. I bet that fox can't do anything. You should know better than anyone not to underestimate a creature, the fox said, glancing at him. The entire class was stunned, and Ino uttered the words, it talked. Of course I can talk. I learned to speak human a long time ago. Is that so hard to understand? The fox said in response to Naruto's laughter. Fight me, I want to see how strong you are, said Sasuke. Naruto replied, I have no reason to fight you. I only fight for mission and training. Mizuki responded, since we don't know that much about you, why don't we have a spar between Naruto and Sasuke? I am curious to see what someone trained by a Sannin can do. Sakura said, I did not know you were trained by a Sannin. Sasuke, as everyone stared in disbelief. Mizuki yelled at Sasuke, you are mistaken, Sakura. Sub-Zero was. Sakura was taken aback, sighing. Iruka remarked, very well, everyone to the training grounds. Naruto was on the right and Sasuke was on the left. When everyone arrived, Iruka replied, This will be a simple spar, you can do anything but kill. Begin. I shall show everyone how weak you are, declared Sasuke. Naruto took a manuscript out of his weapon pouch and began reading it to himself while moving his lips to the words infuriated. Sasuke charged. Sasuke leapt back just in time to see a lightning bolt strike the ground in front of him as Naruto said, "Bolt." Kiba exclaimed, "What the hell was that?" Sasuke charged again as Naruto ignored him and kept reading, and when he said, "Fire," a burst of flames erupted from the ground, scorching Sasuke's pants and melting his shoes as he leapt into the air. He heard, "Ice 2 inches" as he landed and discovered that, aside from his head, his entire body was covered in a block of ice. Naruto put his manuscript away and declared, "I win." With his teeth chattering from the cold, Sasuke tried to move but was unable to do so. GG, get me out TN now W. After both Iruka and Mizuki failed to free him, Iruka asked, "How do you get out?" It sounded like 1,000 sheets of glass breaking as Naruto walked over to the ice, drew back, and punched it, covering his hand in ice once more before moving on to a tree and punching it until it froze and broke into millions of pieces. A girl who didn't pass the test said, "Would you like to go out with me?" as Naruto turned to leave. He walked away after saying, "I don't date fangirls trash." It got to the point where 10 or so of them were fighting over him. At that point, everyone fell silent, but Kiba finally spoke up by asking, "Did he just actually say that?" "I think he did," Shino said. "Damn kid can't keep his mouth shut," sighed the fox sitting on the ground, observing the fight. As Ino put it, "What do you mean?" The fox replied, "If you truly want to know the answer to that, then you will have to ask him yourself." When Naruto heard someone swearing while strolling through the forest, he chose to investigate and heard, "That sorry piece of shit," he said, "I don't quit for anyone, and left me after I told him that I would date him if he would just quit smoking for my health. Stupid asshole." Naruto glanced down from the tree he was in and saw a woman in a dress composed of multiple layers of white fabric. She had red eyes and black hair. Kyuubi landed on the limb next to him, still in fox form, and sat quietly while Naruto just sat there watching the woman punch a training log. "You know it's not nice to spy," the woman said. Naruto said, "I didn't mean to interrupt," as he leapt to the clearing where she was. "I came to see if I could help after hearing that someone was upset." Kurenai appeared composed, but she asked, "Who are you?" while concealing a kunia. "My name is Sub-Zero," Naruto stated. Kurenai responded, "My name is Kurenai. I don't think I have ever seen you before, yet you have a Konoha headband." "I just got back from training overseas for a few years," Naruto said. "I returned today to take the graduation exam." "You appear to be older than an average college student," Kurenai remarked. "What is your age?" According to Naruto, "I don't know." Still perched on the tree limb, Kyuubi leapt to the ground and uttered, "His age is something that he does not know because of where and what his training was. He is different." As Kurenai put it, "Since when does a fox talk?" Naruto stated, "This is my traveling companion and she is unique." As Kurenai put it, "So what's her name?" "I've gone by a number of names in my life," Kyuubi stated. "You may refer to me as Eris." According to Kurenai, "I have never seen a nin animal that was so well versed as this one is." Naruto replied, "Like I told you, she is a unique creature and should be shown respect." "I should be leaving," Kurenai said, glancing up at the sky later. "I'm meeting up with some friends. CYA Sub-Zero." Kyuubi jumped on Naruto's shoulder, and he said, "It was nice to meet you, Kurheim," before vanishing in a whirlpool of flames. Kurenai thought, "Interesting person," and blushed. After hearing a familiar laugh at the hot springs, Naruto approached the man, sat down next to him, and asked, "So any new research?" "Yes, I have seen a number of new research inspirations," Jiraiya stated. "How was today, then?" "I passed, kicked some scumbag kids in the ass, and proofread the next chapter of the manuscript," Naruto declared. "It reminds me that chapter 16 needs to be edited there. The story takes a negative turn." "Gold," Jiraiya said, giggling. "That is truly beautiful." Kyuubi remarked, "I still can't believe you do that stuff," as Naruto pushed him aside and turned to face the woman he had just met. After turning away, Naruto sat down again and uttered, "You know why I do it?" "I know," said Kyuubi. Rewind. While Kyuubi was asleep and Jiraiya was off conducting research, Naruto was practicing water walking when he heard a woman scream. He rushed to investigate and discovered a woman being beaten by multiple women as well as a man sitting on a chair being held by 6 women. Naruto sat quietly for a while to learn more. The individual replied, "So do you see now that you have no choice in the matter?" "I still won't do what you asked," said the woman, who was crying after being struck. "Don't backtalk at me," said the woman next to her, drawing back and kicking her. "There is no one better than him. You're fortunate that he wants you to wed him." I don't want to marry him, the wounded woman declared. I despise him. Say, add me, kill her. Naruto threw a smoke bomb, jumped down, grabbed the injured woman, and then leapt off to get her some help when another woman pulled out a knife and was about to kill her. The woman said, "Thank you," before fainting as he took her to a hospital, where he waited to learn what had happened to her. "I'm sorry, young man, but I'm afraid her injuries were too severe," the doctor said as he emerged. She passed away. Before turning to leave, Naruto bowed his head and said, "Thank you." Jiraiya was still peeking when Naruto arrived, so he sat down next to him and sat quietly for an hour before asking, "So what's bothering you?" "I heard someone scream while I was training," Naruto said. "When I went to investigate, I discovered that a number of women were treating a man like a king and that they were injuring another woman following her refusal to marry him. The man named Admi ordered her to be killed. I leapt to her rescue, but by the time I managed to get her to a doctor, her injuries were too great, and she passed away." "I see," Jiraiya said. "They were probably the fangirls who had just arrived a short time ago. I overheard them discussing a man named Admi." After pushing Jiraiya away, Naruto turned to face the women he had previously seen and pumped chakra into his ears so he could hear them. "Admi is sure livid to find out who took his property." "He is. Indeed, I overheard him say that whoever tells him what he wants can have us please them. Since Admi is always correct and ought to receive what he desires, of course we would do it for him," a third person stated. "We should do it if we can get him that information to make him happy." Naruto paused his search and uttered, "I have a request." Astonished by Naruto's action, Jiraiya asked, "What is it?" "I want retribution for that woman," Naruto declared. "I detest those who have the ability to harm others. In order for me to use those girls to approach him, I need you to teach me the necessary skills." "I won't help you kill him," Jiraiya sighed. "Who said kill? I said revenge." Naruto chuckled to show his followers that he is not flawless. "I wish to harm and disgrace him." Jiraiya replied, "Fine, I will help, but you will have to pay me back for this." "What do you want?" asked Naruto. Jiraiya stated, "I need an editor for my books and someone to help with the non-erotic story plots so I can do more research." With a sigh, Naruto said, "All right, when do we begin?" According to Jiraiya, "We start now, after 4 days. I heard that Admi is looking for some information on who took something from me," Naruto said, approaching one of the women he had witnessed kick the girl. "I'm not free, but I know who did it." The woman said, "I am sure I could pay you something," with a smile. Naruto replied, "Perhaps you can. How about a sample of what my payment will be?" "I can't wait to see what's behind that mask," the woman said, putting her arms around him and reaching down to grab his crotch. "I think I will like the payment," Naruto said, reaching up to grab her right breast. "How about you show me to Admi now so I can get paid?" The woman turned and leaned her hips into his waist, saying, "Follow me." Following her around town, Naruto arrived at a mansion on the west side of town and was shown inside, where he found a large room with a massage table and 3 women massaging Admi. She said, "Admi-kun, I have a person here who said he knows who took your property away the other day." With a smug expression, Admi said, "Really, do tell." A spike of ice appeared and encased Admi to the table he was lying on as Naruto grinned and began to mumble something before saying, "Ice. What the hell are you doing?" yelled Admi. Naruto stated, "I was the one who took that woman away from you and I find you are all guilty of murder." "So the bitch is dead," Admi said. "Not going to matter. The village chief, my father, will not discipline me. You will most likely be killed for hurting me, in fact." At the door, Naruto stopped and said, "This mansion will be destroyed soon, so if you value your lives I would leave now." He then smiled and left the mansion. "Goddess of the north winds, I call thee forward, come forth Shiva," he said after he had stepped outside and moved 100 yards or so from the mansion. He then waited for a few minutes. "What is it you have me do, summoner?" asked Shiva as he descended from the sky. "I want you to demolish this mansion for me," Naruto uttered. "The resident of this place is a disgusting, malevolent individual who enjoys the suffering of others." She extended her right hand and began blowing across it after Shiva said, "As you wish, summoner." The wind that emerged began to strike the mansion, turning it into a solid sheet of ice, and when she snapped her fingers, the ice began to crack and the mansion began to do the same. The girl who had brought him to the mansion rushed over to slap him and ask, "What do you think you are doing?" as the mansion broke into millions of pieces. Pointing to the man who was being assisted out of the house, Naruto remarked, "You are even worse than he is. He won't get his hands dirty because he doesn't have to just to get a hand wave or something. You follow his instructions. You are the reason I despise fangirls. I swear I won't date a fangirl and will take advantage of them the same way I took advantage of you. Bitch," and he turned to leave. The end of the flashback. Kyuubi replied, "I guess I can't blame you, but do you have to act perverted?" A. Naruto said it facilitates my end of the bargain. B. I gain knowledge about people's plans and thoughts. C. I discover who the fangirls are. D. Jiraiya said as long as you don't get caught, you can see as many women as you like. When Kyuubi heard a pervert scream, she transformed back into her human form, grabbed Jiraiya by the pants, and threw him into the women's side of the bathhouse. Kurenai was with them when the women ran out, wrapped in towels, to see who had thrown him in. Sub-Zero, what are you doing here? She asked. Kyuubi stated, he saw the perverted teacher of his peeking on you and threw him into your side so you can deal justice. Kurenai explained, let me show you my gratitude by taking you out for dinner. The women accepted that response and began to depart. According to Naruto, I will accept only as long as I pay. Kurenai walked away with a smile on her face and said, fine, I will be back in a few minutes. After giving Kyuubi a quick glance, Naruto said, I understand your thoughts, and I believe you need a partner. I could see how attracted you were to her. According to Naruto, you did not see anything. Please, said Kyuubi, I've known you for nearly your whole life. I can tell how you're feeling by the slightest movements in your body. You can deceive others, but not me even when your body is hidden. When Kurenai returned, he said, shall we? So what did your friend mean by that pervert being your teacher? Kyuubi jumped up on Naruto's shoulder and wrapped herself around his neck. After he nodded, they walked in silence for a while. I came back from training a little more than 3 years ago, and the Hokage sent me back to train with him. Naruto stated despite being an excellent teacher, he is a huge pervert. You are not a pervert, are you? Kurenai asked. Everyone is a pervert, declared Naruto. What matters most is how much they demonstrate and act upon it. With a sidelong glance at him, Kurenai remarked, that still does not tell me what I wanted to know. If you ask me, I would sleep with any woman who threw herself at me. Naruto remarked, no, I would say that I don't flirt with any women. If you're wondering if I'm attracted to a woman and want to learn more about her, then the answer is definitely yes. The statement from Kurenai was, so you would not spy on a woman bathing. According to Naruto, truthfully it depends. According to Kurenai, depends on what? If I need information about someone that is essential to something I am involved in, Naruto stated, one thing I learned from the pervert was that people talk too much and reveal things they might not normally say when they're relaxed. According to Kurenai, so you are a pervert? No, Naruto said, I never look for lustful reasons. In contrast to my sensei, only 10 times have I actually spied, and 9 of those times I did so to obtain information to exact revenge on a murderer. As Kurenai put it, what about the other? The statement from Naruto was, it was part of my on-the-job training. Naruto sat down next to her, and Kurenai asked, so what do you mean by job training? They had just entered a dango shop, where a woman in a trench cloak, a man with black hair smoking a cigarette, and a man with silver hair with a face mask covering half of his face were all seated. So who is your friend, Kurenai? The woman asked. Where are my manners, man? Kurenai asked, this is Sub-Zero. Anko, this is Anko. Asuma, and Kakashi, Sub-Zero. Hi, was said by Kakashi without raising his head from his book. When Kyuubi woke up smelling food, she said, if you want to find the answer, turn to author page of that book. Naruto also noticed this. With the exception of Naruto and Kurenai, everyone at the table was staring at the fox in a daze, and Anko exclaimed, what the hell is going on? This is my traveling companion, Naruto remarked, I've never seen a talking creature before, so what's the problem? Asuma replied, no, it's just besides summons the only ones we have ever seen were dogs. According to Naruto, well you have now, after flipping to the author page and reading it, Kakashi remarked, I don't see anything. According to Naruto, look at editor and you will find 0. Can I have your autograph? Kakashi asked after taking a look. According to Kurenai, so you are a pervert. As I previously stated, everyone is a pervert. Naruto remarked, the only thing that matters is how much of one, even though I edit those books, I don't write them, and I wouldn't read them if it weren't for the money I make. According to Asuma, so how much do you make? Not much, Naruto remarked, about $500,000 per book title. As everyone began to perspire, Anko asked, how rich are you? I have almost $15 million, Naruto declared. I am not a pervert because of that. Kyuubi said, that is correct, he focuses primarily on the non-erotic areas. I'd like some food now, if you don't mind. With a sigh, Naruto asked, what would you like, Kurheim? I will take a chicken dango, Kurenai declared. Anko said, so Kurenai, since when have you two been a couple? As Naruto stood up to eat. We're not, Kurenai remarked, I just met him today. Anko replied, really, then you would not mind if I go after him? Whatever suits you, Kurenai said, for me, he is too young. According to Anko, what 15, 16, that's not too bad. Like I told you before, Kyuubi said he doesn't care about age, he has aged in a different way than the average person. Would you explain that to us? Asked Kakashi. Kyuubi explained. A side effect of his training, he is actually several years older than he should be. After returning with 3 dangos, Naruto asked, so, how do you want to eat? The fox said, I will eat like this, as she snatched her dango with her paws and began eating the food off the stick while everyone else looked around. Kurenai remarked, so what did that pervert do to make you age differently? As Naruto took a seat. Everyone saw Naruto's glance at Kyuubi, but they remained silent. Kyuubi then asked, who said it was him? I thought he trained under the pervert, Kurenai remarked. When Kyuubi heard Naruto laughing, he said, please, the pervert was his 7th teacher. Asuma remarked, so who were his other teachers? I can assure you that you will not recognize these individuals. Naruto stated they come from a far-off place that hardly anyone had ever heard of. You might be surprised, so tell us, Kakashi said. One teacher, according to Kyuubi, was Edgar, the king of Figaro Castle, and his brother, the martial artist Sabin. Additionally, he received training from the treasure hunter Locke, Terra, a creature similar to me, Shadow, an assassin ninja, and Cyan, the first knight and last survivor of a poisoned ruined kingdom. Naruto questioned, why did you tell them that? Kyuubi responded, because they won't be able to tell what you know from them by their names, so you don't have to worry, and if I ever bring them here to see you, people might need to know a little about them. Those are impressive titles, but I must admit that I am not impressed as we are unaware of any of them. Kakashi remarked, I say you had a good teacher if the pervert you were referring to is who I believe he is, but I don't think much of the others. Anko said, why don't you show us your face? Naruto, who had slightly removed his mask, was putting his food in his mouth to hide his face. Your eyes are all that we can see. Since I began living alone, only 3 people on this planet have seen my face. Naruto remarked. 3 years have passed since anyone last saw it here with me and my companion. What could you want to hide so badly? Asuma asked. Naruto stated, it's a way to protect myself until the time is right from my father's and my own enemies. How many enemies are you hiding from? Asked Kakashi. According to a man who entered, almost every ninja in 3 of the 5 great nations. As they all turned to stare at the newcomer, Naruto exclaimed, what's up, Ero-Sanin? I came to exact my revenge for the stunt you and your friend pulled back at the hot spring. Jiraiya remarked, the manuscript is returned here. When I hit the water, everything you had worked on was destroyed. Damn, said Naruto. Is that the next volume? Kakashi asked, glancing at the manuscript. No, Naruto said, the printers have already received it. The one after it is this one. According to Kakashi, so what rank are you? Sub-Zero. I'm not really a genin yet, Naruto stated. I find out if we pass the real test and who is on my team. You know there's another test, Kakashi said. You're ahead of everyone. Everyone started to perspire as Kyuubi, Jiraiya, and Naruto all started laughing. That is probably the understatement of the year. Jiraiya remarked, this child knows nearly everything that is so hard that no one else can do it or knows how to do it. Lipping her lips, Anko uttered the words, really? Like what? A chilly Naruto remarked, a ninja does not tell how strong he or she truly is. Naruto said, so Ero-Sanin, did Gigi find a place for us to stay tonight? As he glanced at the clock on the wall. According to Jiraiya, no, I figured we could live off the land. Aegean. If I remember correctly, Gambunta still wants to kill you after you had him sit in a thunderstorm to keep dry, Naruto said, glancing up at the sky as it began to rain. Unfortunately, I'll go find a hotel room. Remember when I said revenge? Jiraiya said. I visited both hotels and reserved the final room for myself at each. Hee. That's it, Naruto said. Ice 2 had begun, and Jiraiya was encased in a block of ice. Unfortunately, he burst into a puff of smoke. Naruto sighed and said, Cage Bunshin, well, whatever, come on, Eris, they said as they both turned to leave. Any of you know how he did that? Kakashi asked after they had left. I wonder who will get him, Anko said, and they all shook their heads no. According to Asuma, whoever has him will have to have weak students to balance it out. Well, since we all have to get up early, I am going home to go to bed, Kurenai sighed. Anko replied, are you sure you're not going after Mr. Mystery? As she began to walk away, Kurenai blushed and remarked, I don't know what you were talking about. According to Anko, sure you don't. Naruto was searching for a place to stay while strolling down the street. He considered looking at the hotels, but the pervert was most likely telling the truth. As he was walking, Naruto noticed the man who had assisted him in giving the test earlier jumping along rooftops. Looking scared, his instinct told him something was wrong. So he leapt up on the roof and began to follow him as he got closer to the village walls. Naruto made the decision to find out what was wrong before leaving the village because he knew that emotional issues should never be brought up in combat. Naruto accelerated and shouted, "Hey! Stop!" Naruto used chakra to swing beneath the limb he was on in order to avoid the giant shuriken that the man hurled at him as he turned quickly. Icily, Naruto asked, "What are you doing?" With a growl, the man said, "I don't know how you found me so fast, but I won't give it up." He then threw his bag on the ground, pulled out 3 kunai, launched 2 of them, and charged at Naruto with the final one. After drawing his sword, Naruto sidestepped Mizuki's charge, deflected the first 2 kunais, and then leapt to the ground. Kaiten. Hosenka no Jutsu, fire-style art of the phoenix flower, the touch me not, was said by Mizuki as he began to form Han seals. Naruto then backflipped, flung his sword into the air, and split to avoid all of the fireballs. He leaned back, arched his back, and then jumped back up onto his feet after the final one missed his head by a few inches. He then charged, snatched up his sword, and proceeded to cut Mizuki as he approached. Mizuki, who was taken aback by the agility and prowess of this recently hired genin, didn't recognize the threat until it was too late and he raised his arms in self-defense. The Naruto sword sliced through Mizuki's wrist and took his left hand away. When a number of ABNU and other ninja arrived, they assumed Naruto was the one who had attacked a leaf ninja because they didn't know him. They formed a defensive position and yelled, "Surrender or we will have to use force for attacking a leaf ninja." After wiping away the blood with his blade, Naruto sheathed his sword and uttered the words, "He attacked me." A horse-masked ABNU said, "Likely story." The Hokage showed up at that precise moment and asked, "What is going on here?" "We caught this man here with his sword out attacking a leaf ninja," declared the horse ABNU. "Sub-Zero," the Hokage said, glancing at Naruto, "Tell me why you took that action." According to Naruto, "I saw this guy looking scared running through town, so I followed him, and when he started approaching the walls I yelled out to him and he said something about not giving something up and threw that bag over there on the ground and started attacking me." Mizuki elaborated, "I was going training and my supplies are in that bag and he attacked me." After approaching the bag, unzipping it, and taking a look inside, the Hokage uttered the words, "Arrest him." The Hokage remarked, "Not him, Mizuki," as the horse ABNU began to approach Naruto because he assaulted a leaf shinobi and committed treason. "I want him arrested." "But sir, what about this man?" the horse asked. The Hokage replied, "Look at his belt and you would see he is a shinobi of the leaf and he just stopped a traitor from escaping with the forbidden scroll." Mizuki said, "It's not my bag he is lying, it is his," as everyone blanched at that. He was taken away by several ABNU, and the Hokage departed. "I apologize for the assumption," the horse ABNU sighed. "You understand, I'm sure." "No problem," said Naruto. "I suppose it's just human nature to assume that strangers are your enemies." The ABNU growled, "Don't talk all high and mighty to me. I have been a ninja for more than 10 years now." Calmly replied Naruto, "I am not trying to sound high and mighty, but if you made the same mistake with, say, a diplomat or an ambassador, you automatically thinking I was an enemy could have started a war for the leaf. Think before you act is all I am saying." When he looked up, he saw that Kurenai had him in her Magen. Jubaku Satsu. Demonic illusion. Tree bind death. The ABNU growled and charged at Naruto, but he was tied to a tree. "Please don't attack a fellow ninja. I would hate to see you spend time with Ibiki and Anko for being an idiot," she said, casting a downward glance at him. Then she HMPED and let him go, disappearing in a flurry of leaves. Kurenai said, "You have a knack for being at the wrong place at the right time, don't you?" as she turned to face Naruto. With a laugh, Naruto remarked, "That's the story of my life." "Where is your friend?" Kurenai asked, glancing around. Naruto stated, "She wanted to go see some old friends, so I let her go. She will be back in a few days." As Kurenai put it, "So did you find a place to stay yet?" Naruto replied, "Not yet. I was looking when I saw that Mizuki guy from the academy running scared for some reason." "Look, I don't like it, but if you want you can stay at my place tonight," Kurenai said, glancing up at the dark sky. "I have a guest room that a friend of mine occasionally uses, but she hasn't mentioned using it today, so if you want you can stay there." "I don't want to be a bother," Naruto declared. She turned and began to leave after Kurenai said, "Then it's settled, follow me." Naruto approached her while wearing a mask and grinned. After about 10 minutes of silent walking, they arrived at a white 2-story house. Kurenai said, "This is my place," and proceeded to the door, unlocked it, entering while leaving it open. Naruto closed the door after following her inside. As he entered the living room, he noticed multiple photos of Kurenai with various individuals. While she was in another room, he examined each one and chose one that caught his attention. It was a photo of his father at the academy with a young Kurenai. Naruto murmured, "That was taken my first year at the academy. My family was friends with him. Most people looked at him as an idol, but I looked at him as a friend. It hurt when he passed away." "Can you tell me about him? I mean, if it's not too much trouble. I heard people talk about how great he was, but almost nobody I know actually know him," Naruto said, letting out a sigh and replacing the picture. "I don't mind, but mind if I ask why you want to know," Kurenai said, glancing at him. When he turned to face her and noticed that she had changed into casual clothes and was wearing a silk robe over them, Naruto tensed up a bit and uttered, "He had a direct hand in my life and I would like to know him better for sentimental reasons." Kurenai began to speak. "He was kind, but if he believed in something he would fight tooth and nail for it. He was a prankster, but he also went out of his way to help others. I know it probably does not answer what you want to know, but he was a great person." Naruto gave a nod and replied, "If you don't mind, could you show me where to freshen up and where I will be staying? I was on the road since 4 a.m. this morning and I am tired." Kurenai stood up and led him to the bathroom and his sleeping quarters. "Do you mind if I take a shower?" asked Naruto. Kurenai replied, "No, go ahead. If you want I can wash your cloths. Towels are under the sink. Just put your cloths outside the door and I will pick them up." After giving a nod, Naruto entered, removed his mask and clothes, and examined himself in the mirror with a sigh. He covered his head with a towel after taking his weapons and scrolls off his clothing. He then placed them on the floor and turned on the shower as he opened the door. Hearing the water turn on, Kurenai entered the hall, saw his clothes, and proceeded to load them into the washing machine. As she began to check the pockets to make sure nothing was inside, she noticed a blue jewel in the vest's left pocket. She felt her hand grow cold as she marveled at it. "Greetings, I am the Magicite Shiva. Who are you?" she heard next. Kurenai glanced around to see who was speaking and how she had entered her home after placing the crystal in her pocket and drawing a kunai that she always carried concealed. She searched the house for the intruder. She heard the bathroom's water shut off after a short period of searching, so she went to the hallway and asked, "Sub-Zero, are you okay?" Kurenai came through the door as Naruto was drying his hair, and he said, "Yes, why?" Kurenai replied, "I heard a woman in my house speak and I was making sure you were okay." "Okay. I'll be out in a second." "Shit," Naruto said. Outside the door, Kurenai asked, "What's wrong?" Naruto stated, "I forgot my mask was with my other cloths and I don't have any others since the purser destroyed my other ones as a joke yesterday. Would it be possible to get my mask back?" Kurenai replied, "It is in the washing machine right now. I have a mask Kakashi gave me as a joke when I became a Junin 3 months ago. It is one like he had. Would that work?" Taking a deep breath, Naruto remarked, "Yes, it will work. Just be careful because the intruder may still be here." Kurenai knocked and said, "I am dropping your mask on the ground out here and will be in the front room. Be careful," as Naruto hurriedly changed into his clothes. After waiting a short while, Naruto opened the door and picked up a red half mask from the floor before donning it. Kurenai was still searching for the intruder when she noticed a man with blue eyes and blonde hair leave her hall. The look on his face made her flush. "I wonder what he looks like without the mask," she thought. With a kunai in hand and a hand on his sword, Naruto left. He replied, "Have you seen or heard the intruder Aegean?" Kurenai replied, "No, I don't think she meant any harm. In fact, she sounded nice." "What did she say?" Naruto asked, slashing his eyes at her. "She introduced herself as Shiva," Kurenai remarked. "Shiva?" was screamed by Naruto, who began to pat his pockets. Kurenai uttered, "What is the matter?" Naruto replied, "Did you find a blue crystal that is cold to the touch?" "I found it in your pockets when I was putting them in a washer." Kurenai handed him the crystal after taking it out of her pocket. After accepting it, Naruto remarked, "There was no intruder." Kurheim. "What do you mean?" "I heard someone," Kurenai said. "You heard Shiva, the goddess of the north winds. I am surprised she spoke to you, though you must have a kind heart," Naruto remarked, shaking his head. "I don't understand what you mean," Kurenai uttered. Naruto breathed a sigh of relief and, "I guess since she has revealed herself to you I can tell you, but I need you to promise that you will not tell anyone about this. The only people who know this is the Hokage, Ero-sanin, myself and my traveling companion." Naruto remarked, "Remember at the dango shop when I used that ice attack on Ero-sanin?" as Kurenai nodded. Kurenai gave a nod. Naruto replied, "That was not a jutsu, it was a magic attack." "What does this have to do with card tricks?" asked Kurenai. "What you think of as magic is just illusion. You know how chakra is made up of 2 parts, right?" said Naruto, laughing. "She gives a nod. One part is physical energy and," stated Naruto. According to Kurenai, The other part is mental energy. What does that have to do with it? Naruto stated, mental energy has another name called mana. Mana is the true form of magic. Based on how much mana you have is how much magic you can do. Follow me so far. Kurenai gave a nod. Naruto stated, people of this world have never truly discovered how to use magic, and because of that no one knows about espers. What is an esper? Kurenai asked. Naruto stated, they go by many names on different worlds, but an esper is a being of pure mana. They are almost immortal and come in various sizes and shapes. Shiva was an esper until she died. How did I hear her if she died? Kurenai asked. Naruto reached for the crystal. When an esper gives their energy by either use or being taken, they can die. When they die, their spirit turns into a magicite, which is one of these crystals. With these crystal they can give their knowledge to others. As of right now only 2 people on this planet can use these that I know of. Kurenai questioned, why do you keep saying planet? Worlds, planets, it all means the same thing. Naruto sighed, adding, I suppose the best way to explain it would be to tell you the story of my traveling companion. Eris is not what she seems. Her story begins around 6,000 years ago, when the humans and espers of her world lived in peace until one day the humans started a war with themselves and, in their greed for power, began enslaving the espers. The humans were foolish, and the espers fled their world to other dimensions in order to save themselves. The war almost destroyed their home planet, but eventually peace returned to the survivors. The people of that world soon forgot about them, and about 40 years ago, an ancient writing about the power of espers was discovered by another kingdom of humans. The king of that land began looking for the espers, found some, and began another war. After many deaths, a resistance group formed to stop the king and his evil army, but the world of humans had learned the true secrets of espers, and the leaders made peace with them once more. Following that peace, one of the espers returned to her world, discovered the peace, and began looking for her kind. A lot of people died, and she was stopped after defending herself. She eventually came to this world in search of the rest of her people, and because of the same error that Horse Abnu made earlier, someone started something that shouldn't have happened. According to Kurenai, so in other words an idiot thought she was going to attack and attacked her first. With a nod, Naruto replied, yes, why are you telling me all this really? Kurenai asked. Naruto stated, I trust the espers and 2 of them have showed me that they trust you. Kurenai replied, so what happened to Eris after she was stopped and how did you meet her? After giving her a critical glance, Naruto sat silently for a while. Kurenai sat there staring at him as well. She watched him glance at the picture he had taken earlier, but he remained silent. Naruto replied, let's just say she has been with me my whole life and that my father made it for us to meet anyways. Since Shiva showed herself to you, I suppose she wants to teach you to use her power. Do you want to learn? Kurenai replied, I would like that, but it's getting late and I am tired. Can we discuss this later? Carry this with you for the next few days, but don't show anyone if you wish to know more, Naruto said, nodding and passing the crystal to Kurenai. Naruto went to his room for the night. After Kurenai took the crystal, put it in her pocket, and said, good night. Kurenai thought about the Sub-Zero as he left and turned to face the picture of her and the Yondaime him. The eyes and hair are identical. I wonder. Then, before going to bed, she went to dry the clothes. Kurenai got ready for the day, went to the guest room, and knocked. When she woke up the following day, she went into the room after a few minutes of silence and discovered that the room was immaculate and the bed had been made. After that, she went to her kitchen and found a plate of eggs and bacon with toast and OJ waiting for her. She also noticed a note, which she went to read. To Kurheim, the crystal I gave you last night was the magicite Shiva, and I want to thank you for letting me stay the night. She will teach you the spell for her powers if she thinks you're ready. I have a request, though even though you only saw a small portion of me, please don't tell anyone how I look. That might be sufficient for my adversaries to identify me. I'll give you a few days with Shiva, and I'll take her away if you decide you don't want to learn from her. Just use her powers with caution. Should they end up in the wrong hands, many people might perish. Please don't betray my trust because I have faith in you. The Sub-Zero. Kurenai blushed once more at the name, but she felt a connection to him. She went to the Hokage Tower for team placement after a hasty meal. In the academy, Naruto was seated at a desk wearing his standard full ninja attire. Everything was black except for his eyes. Several students were staring at him. Iruka entered and said, all right, class, calm down. Sasuke, Sakura, Kiba, and Team 7 will be on Team 7. Hinata, Ino, and Sub-Zero will be on Team 8. Choji, Shino, and Shikamaru will be on Team 10. Your teacher will be here soon. Anko remarked, so Kurenai, you got tall, dark, and mysterious, as everyone in the Hokage office stared at the crystal ball. How will you proceed? Kurenai observed Sasuke approaching Naruto and the crystal ball. Sasuke approached Naruto, who was sitting quietly, and asked, how did you do that yesterday? As his pet, Sakura replied, yeah, tell Sasuke what he wants. Like I told the girls yesterday, I don't date fangirls, and I sure as hell am not going to answer to one. As for you, forget it, I won't tell you, Naruto said, glancing at her with narrowed eyes. Kiba replied, man, what do you have against fangirls? Naruto stated, the reason I hate fangirls is because I have seen the evils they will do for the object of their affection. I seen a group once beat another girl to death because the guy could not handle someone saying no to him. If you ask me, fangirls are nothing but brain-dead prostitutes who give it away freely. According to Sakura, I am not like that, Naruto replied, so if Emo over there asked you to betray your friends, you would not for a date? Sakura responded, of course not, proof it, said Naruto. Sakura asked, how? Naruto looked at Sasuke and replied, hey Emo, you still want to know what I did yesterday? I got a deal for you. Have your fangirl here kiss every person, male and female, in class, and if she does, I will tell you what I did. After sitting for a while, Sasuke said, I'll let you take me out to dinner if you follow his instructions, Sakura. Sakura completely forgot what Naruto had said and began to jump around, kissing everyone in sight. As she approached him, he raised his hand and declared, I proved my point. After giving it some thought, Sakura realized that she had kissed everyone but Naruto and Sasuke. She even gave Kiba a kiss, which made her blush. As he approached, Sasuke said, tell me no, Naruto stated, she did not kiss you or me, therefore she has not kissed everyone, so I won't tell you. Sakura was slapped by Sasuke as he passed her and said, useless. Before he sat down, Sakura burst into tears. Ino approached Sakura and began to console her. Normally I would not do anything about a fangirl getting hurt because they should think about others besides their crush. But seeing as she is a ninja of the leaf, I will say this only once: you pull that shit Aegean and I will remove what makes you a man, Naruto said as he approached Sasuke before returning to his seat. Looking through the ball, the third sighed and remarked, he's going to be a problem. According to Kurenai, Sub-Zero-kun, Enko smiled mischievously at her. The third replied, no, the Uchiha Sub-Zero proved his point and probably made a few girls think. I have watched the Uchiha for a while and his attitude is a problem, Kakashi. I want you to give that boy hell and break his damn god complex. A timid voice behind Naruto said, hello, I'm Hinata, I hope we will make a good team. Naruto was sitting quietly at the time. When Naruto looked at her, he saw that she was pushing her fingers together and was wearing loose clothing. According to Naruto, as do I, Hinata. At that moment, Asuma and Kurenai entered through the open door. Team 8 and 10 come with us, Asuma said. Sakura, who was still being held by Ino, refused to be left with Sasuke. After teams 8 and 10 both stood up with a sigh, Naruto said, hey dog boy. Naruto said, do me a favor and look after your teammate, she might save your life one day, as Kiba glanced up at him. Kiba nodded without saying anything because he thought Sasuke was mistaken and because he enjoyed the kiss. Naruto followed Ino and Hinata as he ran up to catch the others. He sat behind them and listened, although he was taken aback when he saw them sit down in front of Kurenai. Kurenai replied, okay, let's do introductions. Who wants to go first? Why don't you go first, sensei? Ino asked. Kurenai stated, my name is Kurenai. I am a rookie Junin. I became a Junin 3 months ago. I am 18 years old. I specialize in genjutsu. My dream is to one day have a family and my hobbies are spending time with my friends. Who is next? My name is Hinata, and I am the 13-year-old heir to the Hyuga family. I am familiar with my family's taijutsu. I want to be strong so that my family doesn't think I'm weak. I enjoy painting and flower making. My name is Ino. I'm 13 years old, and I specialize in family jutsu. Ino stated, I want to take over my family's flower shop and become a strong ninja like my dad. Shopping is one of my pastimes. I have multiple names, but I go by Sub-Zero, Naruto said as everyone turned to face him. It doesn't matter how old I am. Among other things, I specialize in unique jutsu. My interests include honing my craft, editing books, visiting friends in mana, and assisting my traveling companion in finding her people. My dreams are to one day show the world who I am so I can claim my family name and have a family to teach my skills to. Kurenai shot him a sour look. Why do you have multiple names and why don't you use your family name? Ino asked as the three girls continued to gaze at him. What books do you edit as well? Until I meet certain requirements, I cannot claim my family name, Naruto stated. What books? I will only say that they are well liked by the elderly. With a sigh, Kurenai said, all right, team, you are all genin right now. As you are aware, it's a lie, all you are hopefuls. You will be a true genin if you pass the test I have for you. I'll let you choose how to respond to this test. I would like an item to be taken from each of my two teams. I'll pass you if you can do either or both. You return to the academy if you fail your decision. Naruto replied, which teams are they and what are the objectives? The two teams are Team 7, which is led by Kakashi, and Team 10, which is led by Asuma. Kurenai stated I want Asuma Sigets and Kakashi's book taken. Both items must be received by the end of the day. Come to my house once you have them. CYA, she said, and departed in a cloud of smoke. Ino replied, but we don't know where she lives. I do, Naruto said. Anyway, how would you like to proceed? For Hinata, which would be easier? According to Ino, does it matter? According to Naruto, I think we should do both. After both girls gave him a look, he said, okay, this is what we should do. After 30 minutes, Ino screamed, Asuma, Asuma, are you here? As she dashed onto the training field and discovered the Asuma team was there. When Asuma showed up, she asked, what's wrong, Yamanko? It's Sensei, Ino said. Looking frightened hurt, she said, get you before she faints, and headed for her team's training area. After glancing at his group, Asuma said, we will continue later. He then followed Ino into the trees. He quickly caught up to her and asked, explain. Kurenai Sensei offered us the option of taking the test today or tomorrow. Ino stated we took it today, and Sub-Zero injured her with a weird attack. Get you before she faints. She said I believe she will pass away or something. According to Asuma, what kind of attack was it? According to Ino, raise something, pale. Asuma grabbed Ino and followed her instructions to the training ground, where he saw Sub-Zero standing over Kurenai. He hurried over, pushed Naruto aside, and knelt down to see how Kurenai was doing. He was stuck in a block of ice with his hands and knees on the ground. After hearing a shout of, ice, Kurenai dropped the henge, and Hinata took her place. She took his cigarettes and declared, mission complete. After approaching and applying pressure to Asuma's neck, Naruto declared, time for phase 2. After both girls gave a nod, they left. Jiraiya approached Kakashi, who was standing in the center of the field with the memorial stone, and said, Kakashi, I must speak with you for a moment. What is it, Jiraiya-sama? Kakashi asked as he turned around. Jiraiya replied, I am going on a mission for Sensei and I want you to keep an eye on my partner for me while I am away. After giving a nod, Kakashi said, sure Jiraiya-sama. That reminds me, Kakashi, I got the newest edition of my new book from the press an hour ago. Jiraiya said as she began to leave. You want a copy because you helped me out. Giddy, Kakashi replied, sure. Before heading out, Jiraiya took a gold copy of the Icha Icha Princess edition out of his pouch and gave it to Kakashi. After opening the book, Kakashi felt a flash tag go off, blinding him, felt his chakra holes being sealed, and felt a pressure point hit on his neck, causing him to faint. After a quick search, Team 8 located his book. Ino said, I wonder where his team is, after taking a quick look around. According to what Ero Sanin told Naruto, Kakashi most likely postponed it until later. Let's go, he said, and 10 minutes later, he was on rooftops with both girls at his heels, standing outside Kurenai's house. Are you sure she lives here? Asked Ino. Yes, Naruto replied. According to Ino, how do you know? Naruto replied, I won't tell you that out of respect for her privacy. As Naruto knocked, Ino said, fine, while crossing her arms. After a few minutes, they heard a chair fall and someone running to the door, where they saw Kurenai standing in a white towel with a blue crystal on a chain around her neck. What are you doing here? Kurenai blinked as Naruto grinned behind his mask. It was only an hour and a half ago that I left you. According to Hinata, we finished Sensei. Naruto said. Kurheim, I don't mind at all, but you are kind of attracting attention, and we still need to complete the mission. After Hinata and Ino exchanged a sarcastic remark about him, Kurenai blushed and said, come in. I hurried to get dressed after saying, I'll be out in a moment. Naruto went into the kitchen to get a drink of water while Kurenai was away. As he entered, Ino watched him drink from behind and asked, Sub-Zero, how do you know your way around her house? With a swift motion, Naruto raised his mask once more and turned, saying, all I will say is that I met Kurenai yesterday and I was allowed inside here as common courtesy. Sub-Zero here helped with a pervert problem at the hot spring yesterday, and the pervert out of revenge rented all available hotel rooms yesterday, so since I had a guest room and he was defending mine and several other women's honor, I allowed him to stay the night, said Kurenai, who had returned and was standing around the corner hidden, blushing at Naruto's attempt to dissuade suspension. After letting out a sigh and leaving the kitchen, Naruto screamed and passed out due to severe headache pain. Upon hearing the scream, Hinata, who was seated on a couch, rushed to the others and observed Ino and Kurenai pulling Sub-Zero toward the couch. What happened? Ino asked as Kurenai began to take off his mask to check on his breathing and general well-being. She said, I don't know. I want you both to promise that no matter what you see, you don't tell a soul without his permission, Kurenai said, stopping herself before she could finish taking everything out. He conceals his face for reasons I don't understand, and while I will accept them, I must check him to make sure you will be alright. I will make sure that neither of you are a ninja ever again and that you experience your worst nightmare if I find out that either of you has told anything. Agree. Kurenai finished taking off the top half of his hood, and both Ino and Hinata were startled to see the blonde hair. Kurenai then said, "I'm sorry," and took off the bottom half of the mask. Both girls nodded, concerned about their new teammate. Kurenai whispered, "Naruto," because of the whisker marks, recalling the Kyuubi's vessel, but she ignored that thought and examined him for wounds. All three girls gasped, but for different reasons. According to Hinata, he looks just like that picture. After giving Hinata a quick glance, Ino asked, "What picture?" Hinata pointed to the photo of Kurenai as a child in the Yondaime, which caught Kurenai's attention. She blinked as she looked at the photo, then turned back to Naruto and blinked once more, asking, "Am I the only one who sees a resemblance?" After glancing at them both, Ino remarked, "He would resemble that guy exactly if those lines were taken out of his face. In any case, who is he?" According to Kurenai, the guy in the picture is Arashi Kazama, the Yondaime Hokage. After giving it some thought, Ino nodded and remarked, "Sub-Zero's team introductions would make sense if he was related to the Yondaime. The Yondaime had many enemies, as everyone is aware." After giving it some thought, Kurenai remarked, "That clarifies another thing he told me last night. Alright. I know someone who can solve this. Girls, please make sure that nobody else sees his face until I return. I'm heading to the Hokage's office and will return soon," and vanished in a flurry of foliage. After giving Hinata a quick glance, Ino asked, "Do you really think he is Yondaime's son?" "I don't know, but they do look alike," Hinata said, shaking her head. "However, I wonder what became of him." As Ino opened her mouth to respond, Kurenai and the third puff of smoke indicated their arrival. "I don't know what happened. It looks like a repeat of what happened a few years ago. For now, I think he should rest. I want you all to know you can't tell anyone what he looks like. If you do, I will order your deaths." The third sighed as he approached him and began to examine him using medical jutsu. Ino asked, "Is he the fourth son?" while the other three nodded. The third tensed up and uttered, "Why would you ask that?" "He looks like that man," Ino said, pointing to the photo, and Sensei said his name was Arashi Kazama, the Yondaime. The final person exclaimed, "What I am about to tell you, only two other people besides myself know. One is my former student Jiraiya and the other is the boy here. He is Arashi's son." Upon gasping, Kurenai exclaimed, "So that was why. Actually, that is not Thea anymore. I believe you might have met her already. Kurenai, his traveling companion," the third said, giving her a quick glance. "You mean that she was?" Kurenai asked. The third individual replied, "A case of mistaken identity on our part. If you want the full story, ask him, and if he trusts you, he will tell you." When everyone gasped, Hinata's bloodline was activated and she said, "Sensei, something is happening in his pocket and also with the jewel around your neck." Kurenai's eyes were closed when the third glanced at her. A white energy emitted from her hand and encircled Naruto as she began to whisper and held her hand above him, saying, "Cure." Ino and Hinata watched in surprise, as did the third. "I assumed that was magic," the third person said. Kurenai nodded, and Naruto's hand slowly moved to his face as his eyes opened, then grew as large as dinner plates. When he lost feeling of his mask, he looked around and saw the third, Ino, and Hinata staring down at him, and he asked, "What happened and where is my mask?" With a sigh, the third said, "Calm down. I was informed that you passed out after suffocating in agony. However, I would like to know if you are aware of the reason behind your pain." Saying, "It was like when I met that man before I came back." Naruto put his mask back on. "He seemed to be the cause of the world's suffering. I'm not sure how to describe it, but I experienced the same pain once more." With a sigh, the third said, "Well, Sub-Zero, these three are aware of your appearance and the identity of your father. Kurenai is the only one who is aware of your true traveling companion." "It's fine, but I'm curious how I was healed so quickly," Naruto sighed. "I'm not sure," Kurenai said. "I seem to know how to cure you." "Cure, right," said Naruto, nodding. "Shiva has already shared some of her knowledge with you." The third person said, "Perhaps you might let your teammates learn this also." "I can only allow them to learn if they choose to do so." Naruto stated it was okay because Shiva had already shown Kurenai who she was. Rama, Kirin, and Ifrit must decide who they will allow to learn. They won't learn if they don't want to be taught, even if I show them the magicites. Kurenai asked, "Did you pass my test?" after the third person nodded. Kurenai nodded and said, "Okay, you pass," after Hinata gave him the cigarettes and the book from their missions. With a sigh, Naruto took a white, gray, and red crystal out of his pocket, placed it on the table, and said, "Pick one up." Both Hinata and Ino grabbed one. Hinata the gray one and Ino the white one. Says Ino, "What now? Did you hear anything?" asked Naruto. Following Ino's head shake, Naruto commanded, grab another. When Ino reached for the red one and nothing happened, she asked, can I see it? As she glanced at the final crystal Hinata was holding. Ino asked, is this some kind of joke? After Hinata nodded and gave it to her. According to Hinata, you did not hear it, Naruto asked. What did you hear? As everyone turned to stare at her. According to Hinata, he said his name was Kirin. You must possess a healing spirit, Naruto said, nodding. Feel free to take it and put it on. I'll let you try the others once you've learned everything he has to offer. Naruto turned and said, old man, you can try it too. You want to, I know that. When he picked up the white one, the third person heard, you are even more wiser than your years. He laughed and tried the red one, but nothing happened. I understand your aspirations for your people and will teach you how to better assist them. Rama, the god of lightning, is my name. Rama sounds like an even wiser man than me, the third person remarked. He must respect you the same way he respects you, old man, Naruto said, nodding. Put it on, then come back to me and try the others when they say that's all you can learn. In any case, I will accept Ifrit as my summon since they balance each other out. I use him and Shiva the most out of all of them. Ice and fire, I'll say at once, don't display them or discuss them with others. From everyone's perspective, they are simply ordinary crystals. The world could be destroyed if they ended up in the wrong hands. When I talk about their power, I mean it. Don't feel bad if you haven't been selected yet. Ino, the spirits that reside within these crystals have the ability to examine your soul and determine whether you are currently too narrow-minded or undeserving. Phoenix would not appear to me until nearly a year after I had received magic training and demonstrated my worth. With a sigh, Ino said, all right, what is your true name, then? Your last name is Kazama, so what's your first name? I heard Nar say something before the third coughed himself. With a sigh, Naruto said, your choice. If I tell you, Naruto said after giving it some thought, I will have to tell you everything or show you. Everyone took notice of that, and the third person said, show, how? Remember, old man, I have one inside of me, Naruto said. If I wanted to, I could use her power to show my memories to other people. That wouldn't be the case normally, but I have a photographic memory dating back to my birth. With a pale face, the third said, so you remember all that? Naruto stated, ever since the ritual, she protected my mind when I was young and hid the painful ones, but then I got them after the ritual. Very well, sighed the third, but I request to see it also so that I know what they know. Goddess of the Oracle of Time, bringer of the past and future, I summon thee, Eris, Naruto said, nodding. Kyuubi blinked as a 6-foot-tall 9-tailed fox suddenly materialized in front of everyone, asking, why did you call me Kit? Eris, show them my memories, said Naruto. Every one of them. Very well, Kyuubi said with a sigh. Deja vu, and then all of a sudden there was a flash of light, and they saw the fourth holding the baby, and then they saw a woman who had fallen and died during childbirth, and then they saw him take the baby to the office of the Hokage and begin to put seals on his stomach. Then they saw the ceiling, the fourth taking Naruto on top of Gambunta's head to fight Kyuubi. The fourth dying, the third picking him up, the conversation in the council chambers, the third changing his name, the first of many attempts on his life, the assault, the hospital visit, and other forms of abuse, and finally meeting Kyuubi, traveling to another world, meeting his friends, training, returning, meeting the mysterious man, starting training with Jiraiya, the event that altered his opinions about fangirls, returning, the events with Mizuki, team placements, and obtaining the items. At the end, everyone was in shock, and Naruto blinked and asked, hey Eris, how long till you plan to come back? Probably a week or two, Kyuubi said. I am going to see what I can learn about another Esper that I have a lead on. With a nod, Naruto said, all right, let's talk later. Kyuubi simply nodded before disappearing in a cloud of smoke. Kurenai remarked, that's how you got those items, as everyone blinked some more. That was really great. At least she only displayed the more significant things. Naruto sighed. I don't want to show anyone certain things. You had the Kyuubi in you and in an, Ino said, glancing. Just relax and close your eyes, Naruto said, nodding. In a few minutes, the information will be absorbed by your brain, allowing you to think clearly. Hinata replied, how can you think clearly when you see people you known for years do that to a child? You either get over it or let it consume you and you take your own life. Naruto sighed. He grinned behind his mask. I wouldn't have met you free if I had done that. Ino replied, I need some time to think about this. I understand. I need to try and find a place to stay anyways. Naruto nodded and began to move toward the door. The third turned and departed in a flurry of leaves after saying, whatever you saw or heard, under no condition do you reveal it or I will have you killed. I won't have him hunted down like that Aegean. I need to speak to head home before father gets worried, Hinata said, glancing at the clock. Meet at the dango shop by the Yamanko flower shop at 10 a.m., Kurenai said, nodding. After giving a nod, Ino and Hinata departed. Naruto was walking down the street after leaving when he felt two enormous killer intents aimed at him. When he looked up, he saw Asuma and Kakashi standing there, both prepared to murder him. Why you, Asuma said, his teeth chattering. Sighing, Naruto ducked a fireball and said, anyway, to get out of this without a fight. The other two swiftly followed him as he sighed and said, guess not. Meet me at the training ground where we trapped Asuma. Naruto had to avoid 3 kunai that were flying at him. When he arrived with a sigh, Naruto began his own seals, but had to halt a minute later when a trench knife sliced where his head was to stop the second one. Naruto drew his sword. Lesson 1. Never wear simple clothes. Naruto grinned and said, before putting his sword aside and quickly grabbing Asuma's belt buckle, removing it, and causing his pants to drop to his knees. Another kunai was blocked by Naruto, but this time Kakashi was holding it. After glancing at him, Naruto said, Lesson 2. Fight only to disable or kill. He dropped his sword, leapt back, and uttered the word, pummel. In less than a second, 10 punches were delivered to Kakashi's chest. What the hell was that? Kakashi said, clutching his chest from the force of the blows. Then he snatched a scroll and splattered blood on it before uttering, Kachiyose. Doden. Suiga no Jutsu. Summoning. Earth Release. Tracking Fang. Technique, and 6 dogs appeared out of nowhere, holding Naruto in place. When he said, okay, time to bring out the big guns. Demon or eternal fire, beast or brimstone. I call thee forth. Ifrit. The sky went dark and the ground began to tremble beneath them all. Then a beast emerged from the earth, holding the ground. Naruto was on its back and covered in flames. He turned to face Kakashi. A voice then asked, why have you called for me? First get these dogs off of me and then use flare on those 2, but don't kill them, said Naruto, who was still being held by the dogs. With the exception of a pug that yelled, Kakashi, don't summon us Aegean for this guy. And then departed. Ifrit swiftly seized the dogs and squeezed them, causing them to ascend in a puff of smoke. When Ifrit turned to face Asuma and Kakashi, who were backing up slowly, he opened his mouth and threw a flame into the air, causing fireballs to rain down from the sky toward the 2 men. Each fireball was directed and struck, burning a small portion of their clothing each time, until at the end, both men were wearing only a pair of boxers and the Kakashi mask. Bring me a challenge if you find one next time, Ifrit said. As he retreated into the earth, Naruto nodded. Suddenly, 3 ABNU groups and the Hokage appeared, and the third of them said, Sigs and Book. When Naruto said, Sigs and Book, calm down, just a spar that got out of hand, the third sighed. Kakashi questioned, what was that? As the ABNU nodded and departed. It was Naruto who said, one of my summons. Asuma picked Kakashi up and took him to the hospital after he sighed and passed out from pain. As Naruto put on his new belt and began to walk away, a certain red-eyed beauty jumped out of a tree and exclaimed, so, find a place to stay yet? She laughed and said, you can stay at my place Aegean. It was nice having someone to talk to. Naruto pointed to the belt with the Asuma family crest on it and said, nope, just been cloth shopping so far. She then leaned forward and whispered, Naruto-kun, by his ear. After giving her a quick glance, Naruto said, if you insist. Kurenai replied, it's the least I can do after you getting hurt for my revenge. She accepted Naruto's arm after he nodded, and the two vanished in a whirlpool of flames before resurfacing at Kurina's location after blinking. Kurenai remarked, that was interesting. I wonder, since it's around 5 o'clock, want to go out to eat? Naruto said, nodding. Are you asking me on a date? Kurenai asked. According to Naruto, it depends on if you will say yes or not. Love to, but how about I cook for you instead so I can see your face again? Kurenai said, nodding. After giving it some thought, Naruto remarked, only if I can help you cook since I am a guest. Next time. Okay, since your clothes were ruined by Kakashi dogs, you need to change, Kurenai said, nodding. With a sigh, Naruto headed for the restroom, but he paused to ask, how did you know about the dogs? I had already gotten rid of them when you showed up. Red-faced, Kurenai remarked, a woman has her ways. So how long were you there? Asked Naruto. Kurenai stated, I followed you when you left and saw Kakashi and Asuma attack you. I wanted to make sure you find a place to stay. So why did I not detect you? Asked Naruto. Says Kurenai, Genjutsu. With a sigh, Naruto uttered, my true weakness. Kurenai replied, it's nice to know you actually had one based on what I saw of your training. So why are you being so nice? Not that I mind. said Naruto. According to Kurenai, I have my reason Naruto-kun and only I know for now. Naruto exited the room after saying, well, I'll be back in a few after taking a quick shower and changing. With a sigh, Kurenai started to cook, thinking, I wonder how he will take it when he finds out. Naruto found sushi, egg rolls, and white rice on the side. When he got back, Kurenai also had a bottle of red wine on ice, which Naruto noticed and raised an eyebrow at. He noticed the kitchen was empty. When he looked in, he sat down at the table after taking the wine, opening it, and pouring 2 glasses. Kurenai reappeared about 5 minutes later, dressed in a white, sleeveless dress adorned with a magnolia tree. After getting up and removing her chair, Naruto remarked, you look lovely. As Naruto sat down, Kurenai blushed, took a sip of wine, and said, thank you. Is something wrong? Naruto asked, glancing across at Kurenai as she played with her rice. Can I ask you something and get a completely truthful answer? Kurenai asked, setting down her silverware and taking another sip of wine. After giving it some consideration, Naruto uttered the words, as long as it does not betray the trust of a precious person of mine. What do you think about me, truthfully? Kurenai asked, nodding. As a sensei, friend, person or everything, was said by Naruto while his eyes remained closed. According to Kurenai, everything. Naruto cracked open his eyes and replied, even though we just met the other day, I think you are as lovely as a goddess, as kind as a dove, as strong as the wind, and as pure as the snow. Even though you try to act tough around others, you're actually fragile when it comes to emotions. You have been hurt before and are afraid to chance it. Aegean, does that answer your question? Kurenai was blushing and said, yes, it does. I don't exactly know where to begin with this. Do you remember your mother? Her name was Diana. I knew her. She was a retired ninja. She actually taught at the academy. My family sent me when I was 4 to start training. I knew she was married to the Yondaime because I was her flower girl. I am probably one of 10 people who knew of their marriage and probably one of 3 alive now. The other 2 would be Jiraiya and the third who did the ceremony. Like I told you before, Arashi was friends with my family, but that's how we met him in the first place. My family was not big at the time. I had 2 brothers that passed away during the war. My father died from a heart attack at around 5 and mother died from a lung cancer when I was about 6. You would have been about 1 year old. Then I received all of my family possessions and in them was a scroll that was sealed not to open until I turned 13. I learned about something my mother did when she found out she was going to die. Recalling that, Kurenai began to cry, so Naruto took out a handkerchief and handed it to her. After she had settled down, she said, my mother, when she found out she was going to die, wanted to make sure I would be taken care of and came up with a plan with the only people I saw as family besides her, your parents. What exactly do you mean? Asked Naruto. Kurenai stated, when I first learned about it at the age of 13, I was shocked and then happy because it made me feel like I would have family again. I even started bragging to my friends that I would be getting married and everything. I didn't know your name at the time, who you were, or how you looked. Eventually, I asked the third about it, and he said that he knew who you were but didn't know if you were even alive anymore from your memories. You showed that you were training anyway. After that, I made up some lies about how I turned you away after meeting you and would never speak of you again. I acted like a complete bitch after that, and my friends began to call me the Ice Queen because I would give them the cold shoulder. I learned all the scrolls my family left behind and became the Genjutsu mistress of Konoha to my enemies, but to everyone else, I was always called Ice Queen. I dated a few guys, but I had a mental image of you that made them all fall short. Asuma was one of the few guys I dated who even helped me relax, but it was just friendship, and I keep trying to get him to stop smoking, but he refuses. I don't want to see someone close to me die of lung cancer again. Kakashi is another friend, but after he groped my ass on our one date and called me a woman from one of those books, I rag him about it constantly. I guess I got distracted. I wanted to say that we are kind of engaged by our parents, so I wanted to know what you thought of me. Naruto, who had watched her from the very beginning, said, you saw what my life has mostly been like. I don't know what you imagine me to be, and I won't say I am something I am not. I can be an idiot at times. I don't always know how others feel and I act on impulse a lot. You know my promise to Eris, and I do everything I can to fulfill a promise. If it means I will have to leave the Leaf Village and go to another world, I will. I value those who earn my respect and are precious to me more than anyone. I won't lie to you, you have already earned my respect just in the short time I have known you. I don't want to change who I am, and I would not ask you to change who you are. I don't care what our parents decided for us back then. They don't have to live with the decisions we do. I may not ever get the right to use my family name, and if I do, then the villagers might remember me as only the demon child. To answer your question, I will ask one of my own. Could you truly live with the fact that you may not ever be able to call me by my real name in public? Could you live with the fact I may have to hide my face forever? Would you be willing to go with me to help fulfill my promises? Would you be willing to have a family with me knowing all of this? A friend of mine named Setzer told me this: nothing in life comes free. In order to break even, you may need to wager everything. Sometimes the only thing you can do is break even. However, occasionally you receive a hand that will permanently alter your life. It will be your choice to stay or fold. That is my question to you. Know, do you want to stay or fold? I will respect you and support your decision either way, so don't worry about my feeling in the matter. You must choose what is right for you. Thank you for the meal, it was very good. I know you have a lot to think about, so I will give you some space. I will stay here tonight and find a place tomorrow to stay. I don't want to be an inconvenient. Naruto then finished his sushi roll and drank his glass of wine before getting up and going to the guest room he had been in before to get ready for bed. He simply began to stare at the ceiling because he was not going to sleep this night after what had just transpired. So what are you going to do? Stay or fold? Kurenai asked herself as she sat at the table, staring at the spot where Naruto had been just a moment before she got up, left the mess on the table, and went to her room to reflect. No sleep tonight. Naruto got out of bed the following day and quietly prepared for the day, but he was welcomed with a cup of coffee when he arrived in the kitchen. Please, cream and sugar, he said, glancing at Kurenai. Well, that's interesting, Kurenai remarked. What? Said Naruto. According to Kurenai, with the training and everything you showed us, I would think you were a stamina freak and would not need sugar. Naruto stated, King Edgar made sure I was taught manners and how to relax in situations that are stressful. Because of that I learned the finer points of the taste of coffee. With a laugh, Kurenai remarked, you must have some interesting friends. That's one way to describe them. I hope to see them sometime, Naruto said, gazing off into space. You did not get much sleep last night, did you? Kurenai asked, nodding. I really should put my mask back on. It's harder for people to read me, Naruto sighed. Kurenai replied, you know you don't have to wear it here, you can relax. Naruto replied, I don't want to make things awkward for us. What time is it? Glancing at a clock, Kurenai uttered the words, 8 a.m. After nodding, Naruto remarked, I need to do some training before we meet the others. I need to get ready for the day also, Kurenai said, nodding. Before leaving, Naruto paused as he was about to go to the door and remarked, you look lovely this morning, hon. Kurenai went to change, blushing, sighing. She asked herself, stay or fold? As Naruto was making his way to the training grounds, he heard multiple screams and saw Sasuke, a young boy, sprinting past him and toward him, followed by roughly 15 girls his own age. The girls were running after him, yelling. Unfortunately, he recognized two of the girls in the group. Ino, his teammate, was one of them. Among them was Sakura. I suppose a fangirl is always a fangirl. With a sigh, he walked on toward the training ground as he watched them disappear, but he halted after a short distance and declared, they're gone, you can come out now. He only needed to hear the HMPH sound from behind his genjutsu. Sasuke emerged and commanded, fight me. Sasuke told Naruto, how dare you tell me no, I am Uchiha, you should grovel on the ground at my feet, loser. Naruto said, no, and turned to leave, but he was stopped. Ignoring the killer intent Sasuke was releasing, Naruto turned and said, I only have one thing to say. Kiss all zones around my ass, you stuck-up prick. I don't care what your name is, you know what Uchiha means to me. Upset, chicken-headed, insignificant hard asses. He then turned to leave. He said, I'm sorry you had to see that, as he walked another block or so away. A genjutsu dropped and uttered, I'm surprised you detected me this time, as someone laughed. Naruto replied, I did not. My nose picked up your perfume, it's nice lilacs. Let's walk a little while before we meet the others, Kurenai said as she began to walk alongside him. As they passed a water fountain and Naruto took a look at it, he remarked, Ino will probably be late since she is chasing a bunch of Sasuke all over town. What are you thinking about? Asked Kurenai. Naruto replied, I was just thinking of the first village I went to after Figaro Castle in the other world. It was called Narshe. It was a mining town, but Mog lived there. Kurenai uttered, who is Mog? Naruto laughed and replied, he is a Moogle. He looks like a rabbit with wings on his back and a little pink ball on top of his headlock. Took me there for my lessons to be a thief and wanted the best person to practice on as a Moogle because they have the best senses. Mog's attack skills were something unique. Instead of fighting you, he used dances. According to Kurenai, dances, but how? Naruto replied, I really don't know how he did it myself, but he did. I saw that statue in the fountain and it reminded me of him. With a headshake, Kurenai remarked, you are such a mystery. With a soft smile behind his mask, Naruto said, we should go to our team meeting place. Kurenai followed him as he started to leave. Kuriani led them to the Hokage Tower and said, all right team, Today we start missions. Let's go see the Hokage and discover what mission he wants us to take first." Hinata and Ino were present when they arrived. As they arrived, the third handed her a scroll and said, "Ah, Kurenai, your team's right on time. Your first mission is to catch the Fire Lord's cat Tora." "All right, team, let's go," Kurenai said after reading it. 3 hours later, the Fire Lord's wife yelled, "What happened to my poor Tora?" as Naruto entered the Hokage office with Ino and Hinata holding a frozen Tora. Naruto replied, "He got a cold shoulder from a very frosty lady." According to Ino, "That cat is a demon." Stuttering, Hinata said, "Be nice, Ino." As Tora was removed, the third sighed and remarked, "Well, your mission pay will be rewarded tomorrow. You're all dismissed." As she walked away, Kurenai remarked, "Good job today, team. See you all at the same time tomorrow." Before he left, Naruto went to the window and leapt out, and everyone shrugged when Ino asked, "What's up with those two?"
So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more awesome stories like this. Thank you. See you all in my next video.